Entrepreneur Next Door, episode number 1.
Entrepreneurs Unite.
Get empowered by engaging conversations with exceptional entrepreneurs. Welcome to Entrepreneur Next Door.
Coming to you from the Front Range of Colorado Springs, join hosts John and Jan Olson and today's energizing entrepreneur.
Are you ready?
Well, hello everybody, and welcome to our very first episode of Entrepreneur Next Door. My name is John Olson, along with my co-host and wife, Jan.
Hi, everybody.
This, my friends, is the podcast for entrepreneurs worldwide, helping you take your business to the next level.
It doesn't matter if you are brand new in business or a seasoned pro. There's something that we can all do to help one another take our business to the next level.
During today's show, we are not only the hosts, but the featured guests as well. We want to take this opportunity to cast a vision so you can help us help you. We want to experience the entrepreneurial journey with you.
During today's podcast, we want to cover 3 things. Number 1, we're going to introduce ourselves to you and reveal the vision we have for helping entrepreneurs with this show. Number 2, we are also going to present the big idea behind Entrepreneur Next Door to you in 65 words. And number 3 is, we're going to put ourselves in the hot seat and interview ourselves so you can get to know us better.
So without further ado, we officially launch the Entrepreneur Next Door Show. Let's begin the show by telling you a little bit about us. We are a happily married couple from Colorado Springs, Colorado. We have 5 kids, 2 horses, and 2 dogs. We have been in numerous business ventures for over 34 years. We are what would be considered unemployable entrepreneurs. Somehow, you just can't seem to fit a square peg into the round corporate hole.
We have been involved in all kinds of business ventures, including real estate investing and sales, property management, mail order back in the day, furniture manufacturing, sales of every kind of product you can imagine, online marketing, and right-of-way management for power companies. In December of 2013, we sold a company that we had owned for 18 years.
Now, the company we sold made us a lot of money over the years and put food on the table for our dedicated employees. We served many wonderful and loyal customers during that time we owned it. And over time, though, things change and people change, and after a lot of prayer and talks between us, we knew it was time to sell out and move on.
During the years 2012 and 2013, we were on a quest to discover our NBT, the next big thing. We asked ourselves deep questions. We prayed and sought God's wisdom, and then God began to reveal the NBT. So, how did God give us the idea for Entrepreneur Next Door? Engaging conversations with exceptional entrepreneurs. Well, it's kind of a long story, so we won't cover that during the podcast today. But if you really want to know, you can check it out on our website at entrepreneurnextdoor.net and check out the About page, which will tell you the story of how this show was conceived.
We truly believe Entrepreneur Next Door is the NBT. In fact, here is the big idea behind Entrepreneur Next Door in 65 words. By creating an international podcast show, entrepreneurs from all over the world will be encouraged, entertained, and enlightened by other successful entrepreneurs. The result? We exist to facilitate the sharing of great content to strengthen every entrepreneur. We exist to provide a better connection with fellow thought leader entrepreneurs. A rising tide lifts all boats. and we exist to create more collaboration opportunities between entrepreneurs worldwide.
Entrepreneur Next Door is a highly regarded 3-day-a-week entrepreneurs podcast hosted by us, interviewing today's most influential and inspiring entrepreneurs from around the world. During each episode, we share the journey of our spotlighted guest, highlighting a setback and the lessons they learned, a breakthrough moment in the path that they took that turned that moment into profit-building success. Then we wrap it up with the most exciting part of the show, the kinetic round, where John and I fire off a series of questions that extract nuggets of marketing wisdom from our guest.
Entrepreneur Next Door is all about giving you a shot in the arm so you can grow your business. We know that by hearing the setbacks, breakthrough moments, and the success tracks of other entrepreneurs, you will be inspired to take more risk, expand your thinking, and multiply your business. So we have now introduced ourselves to you and revealed the vision we have for helping entrepreneurs with this show. And we presented the big idea to you in 65 words, which brings us to the fun part of the show. Jan and I decided to interview one another so you can get an idea of what to expect in upcoming episodes as you listen to other entrepreneurs in the hot seat. So are we ready to go, Jan?
Yes, we are.
All right. Well, I'll go ahead and ask myself the first question. And the first question goes like this. Let's give our listeners a little overview about us because we want everybody to get to know us better, and then let's tell them a little bit about our business experience. All right, so I'm going to answer this one. We live in Colorado Springs. We have been happily married for 34 years and some odd months, and the odd months haven't been that bad either. We have raised 5 children. We have 2 horses, 2 dogs. We're just, really happy to live in a state like Colorado, and we have been in business all of our married career. Or married life, I should say. And so we've done all kinds of things. We've done real estate back in the day. We've done mail order. We've done furniture manufacturing. We've done right-of-way management for power companies. We've done online marketing. We've sold equipment online. There's all kinds of things that we've done. Our businesses have made millions of dollars over the years. And it was a lot of work and a lot of fun, but we've learned a lot over the years. And so we're excited about this new venture here, the Entrepreneur Next Door, helping other entrepreneurs become more successful and take their business to the next level. Jan, why don't you take question number 2?
Well, before we get into the heart of the interview today, let's share one of our favorite success quotes. And this is by John Maxwell. And it reads, "A leader is one who knows the way, he goes the way, and he shows the way." And that's sort of how John and I have run our businesses. We've tried to know the way to the best of our ability by researching and gathering information and kind of looking at the facts and the figures. So by doing that, we can make the very best decision, for our company and for our employees and also for the customers that we serve. And then that helps us go the way that we should go with our service that we provide. And then as we provide that service, it also is an example to not only our children and our friends and our family, but also the other businesses around us that, there is a way to run a company and to do it successfully and to provide just outstanding service to your customers.
It is a challenge for sure, but we work on that hard every single day. Question number 3 and question number 4 kind of run together because what we're going to talk about a little bit is a big mistake from the past, and then we're going to talk about a breakthrough moment where we learned something, and then what we learned and the steps we took to turn it into profit-building success. So I found this little tidbit of information online, and you'll probably find it interesting. It's a good way to open up this question. But there was a man named Adam Osborne, best known for creating the first commercially available portable computer, the Osborne 1. Now, it was released in April 1981, and I realize maybe some of the listeners of this show weren't even born before 1981, so you may not be familiar with his name. But he developed the first commercially available portable computer. Now, listen to this. It was released in April 1981. It weighed 24.5 pounds. Now, he made famous the quote, "The most valuable thing you can make is a mistake. You can't learn anything from being perfect." Now, I'm sure with a 24.5 pound computer, he made a lot of mistakes getting that first unit out to the market. And as I recall, there was about 10,000 of those original units that were sold. So if you happen to have one, it might actually be worth a little bit of money because there's so few of them. But let's tell everybody a story of a time we made a big mistake. Let's go back to that time and allow everybody to feel what it was like to be in our shoes. And then let's tell them the lessons we learned from our mistake. I guess I'll begin with this. And Jan, you just jump in anytime you want to and help me out with this story. But this happened back in 1998. Now, back in 1995, previous to that, we started a tree company. It was we started out in residential tree work in a little town called Wilmington, North Carolina, right there on the coast. Beautiful town. It's really grown over the years. We started in 1995, and in 1998, after a few hurricanes came through that area, there was a golf course that called us from the north side of town, and they had 2,000 trees that they wanted to have removed from the property. These trees had been damaged by beetles. They ranged in size anywhere from 2 inches on the trunk to 30, 40 inches. I mean, they're all different sized trees. And 2,000 of them at the time, we only had 2 employees. So you can see that it was a monumental task. And to top it off, there were 7 other competitors that were going after the same contract. Now, what is the big mistake we made? The big mistake we made, there was a long process of going through the bidding, and there was a miracle on how we came up with a price. And as you can probably already have surmised, we ended up getting the contract. But our thought process in the beginning was something like this, and maybe you were raised with this value. If you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. That was a bad philosophy to go into that job with, because the task was so monumental and it had to be done in 6 weeks. Now, I can tell you, if you've never cut a tree down, you can't take down that many trees and clean them all up and haul them somewhere in 6 weeks when it's just you and 2 other people. It is an impossibility. But that is the mindset that we started out with when we first started that job. But then we got desperate. Now, one day, as I was hauling a load of logs to the buyer, I was explaining to him my frustration, and I didn't think we were going to make it. And this job was actually going to break us. And so he said, "John, I've got a solution for you." And do you remember that solution, Jan?
Well, yes, he had some equipment, that was available for us to use, and he was willing to, come in and be a part of this project and, and bring his equipment in and help us out. Exactly.
And then there was this magical piece of equipment. It was called a fella buncher. And if any of you have ever watched like swamp loggers on television, you've probably seen one of these machines in action. But the machine will actually go up and grab a tree and cut it off, and then the operator can position that tree and lay it down anywhere he wants to. So that was kind of the magic machine that got our production up. See, the first day when we were trying to do everything ourselves, me and 2 other guys, we had cut down a total of 100 trees and limbed them up. Now, I can tell you can do the math because a lot of the time is spent in the cleanup part. So when we got this other machine, and I only had to pay the guy $100 an hour to come in there, he cut down every tree that we had to cut down in a day and a half. I think I paid him $1,500. It was like the best money I've ever spent, I believe. He did an outstanding job. And anyway, we borrowed a log truck from my father-in-law. We got all the logs hauled to one side of the development, and then the buyer, he would load these semi-trucks up with these logs and haul them to the mill and write us a check every week for the logs he purchased from us, which helped us to make the payroll. So what I'm saying is this. We never would have made it. In fact, we would have failed. We probably would have lost our business for sure had we tried to finish that all by ourselves. What I'm saying is you have to learn how to delegate. You have to learn how to trust others. You have to find people that are better at different components of your business, at production than you are, and you have to trust them and put them to work. And that's what we did. Now, the result of that in that early business venture that we had is we completed that job not in 6 weeks, but we completed it in 8 weeks. And we received gross income during that time of $80,000. Our expenses were only about $32,000 or $33,000, as I recall. And so we had a nice windfall profit, which at that time in our early beginning was just a tremendous amount of money. So we took that money, reinvested it into our company, and it wasn't long before we had our first contract with a power company in Eastern North Carolina, and then it just grew from there. We eventually migrated over from the residential tree service into a commercial tree operation and made millions of dollars, had some wonderful employees, some awesome loyal customers, and it was just a good thing. But that's the thing we have to learn, is to pull a great team of people together to help you accomplish a worthwhile goal. And that's what we learned, and it really paid off well for us.
Well, now we want to kind of switch things up a bit, and we've experienced success. And so now I want to share with you about our unique selling proposition. In other words, what kind of differentiates our product or service, from our competitors. And I guess one of the unique things about John and I is that we are a husband and wife team. We've always worked together, in businesses ever since we were married. And we've just, done this together. And one of the good things about that is, John and I have different strengths and weaknesses, and we've been able to draw from one another and then research and talk things out and plan and share our ideas and how we think things can come together. Sometimes we've each had to compromise and give in a little bit, but it's just something that's kind of unique about us, and it's worked very well for us. And so that's kind of one of the unique things about us.
We've worked together for a very long time, and it's really been good. But one of the challenges we've had to face, as you might imagine, is sometimes we have to know when to shut it off. And, because we can't talk business 24/7, because that's not healthy for a marriage or for your family. So we have little rules in place and things that, where we just have to close the door sometimes. And, we have an office in our home. This is where we operate. This is where we've operated since, I think it was around 1987, somewhere in there. We've operated a business or some kind of venture of some sort in our home since 1987. So we were operating out of our home before it was even cool to operate out of your home. Nowadays it's the preferred way to do things if you can. It keeps down your overhead and you don't have a long commute every day. But the challenge is you have to know, you integrate your family into your business, but then you have to know when to shut it down. And we're not in business now. We're having family time, or we're having date night, or whatever. So that's one of the things that we've had to deal with too as home entrepreneurs. Now, the next question will normally be, let's give our Entrepreneur Next Door listeners some customer service ideas. In our situation, why will customers or clients stay or do repeat business with us? Now, this is our newest venture, the Entrepreneur Next Door show. And so I can tell you what we did with our former business, where we worked for power companies in eastern North Carolina. What made us unique there was that we were a small mom and pop operation in a sea of Walmart size type competitors. And we took advantage of that based on one thing. All of our customers had my personal cell phone number. If they had a problem of any kind, they knew they could call me and the problem would be solved within 24 hours. A lot of times in a big company, there's several layers of management, and to get to the right person, sometimes you have to go through the proper chain, and that takes time. And so they knew they could call me 24/7 if there was a problem that needed to be handled. And we always took care of the problem most of the time within 24 hours. So that was our unique selling proposition for that. And that's how we provided excellent customer service. And we had some customers that were with us 14, 15 years steady. And we had a good thing there going. Now, with Entrepreneur Next Door, we plan on engaging with our listeners, with our blog readers. We plan on answering emails. We are going to look for ways for you to contribute to the show too. You can leave comments, questions. We've already integrated some technology into the blog where you can leave a voicemail. And if in certain instances, we may play your question or your comment on the show. So go to, entrepreneurnextdoor.net, leave us a comment or ask a question. And if it fits, we'll include it in one of our shows. But we will always follow up with you and, give us some ideas too as time goes on and as we interview different guests. If you really need to know something, ask us a question and we'll research it and get some answers for you and maybe produce a whole show just around some questions that come in from several listeners. So we plan to be engaged with you and come up with really great content that's actionable that you can use in your business to help it grow. Now go right into question number 7, which is let's bring things to present time. Let's talk about today. Let's share with the Entrepreneur Next Door listeners what has us jacked up right now. Well, I can tell you, and Jan can chime in too, but this show, Entrepreneur Next Door, is got us really excited. We've done some research and found out that podcasting is really growing at a rapid pace right now. A lot of people are tuning in. As a matter of fact, it started off really kind of popular. I think it was back in 2005, 2006, but it didn't go anywhere real fast. I mean, people did it for a while and then they kind of backed off of it. And the reason was it used to be a lot more complicated and to produce shows and to get them up online and to host them. And the technology was kind of slow sometimes, but it has greatly improved. It's a lot easier to produce a show now. It's a lot easier to host one. More people obviously are carrying mobile devices now. So you could listen to this podcast, let's say, while you're exercising or like I ride a bike almost every day. And while I'm riding, I have my earbuds plugged in and I'm listening to a podcast from people that I admire and that I learn a lot from. And it's a great source. It's a great medium to consume great content. So we see this as a way to reach out to entrepreneurs all over the world. What we want to do is connect entrepreneurs with other entrepreneurs. So we're looking for guests on our show. And if you're a successful entrepreneur, if you've been an entrepreneur for over 2 years, and let's say you have an income level that's 6 figures or better, we would love for you to apply on our show. You would go to entrepreneurnextdoor.net/apply, and you just answer a few questions in 2 or 3 minutes, and you can, if we like what we see there and you're approved, then we'll send you all the information. And we've made it as easy as possible for people to participate as guests on our show. So with that being said, then other entrepreneurs that listen to the show can learn from your mistakes and from your successes They can get to know you better. And what this will also do is at the end of the show, we'll give give the listeners an opportunity to connect with you in any way that you, think is great. So you can put down provide a URL or a link to your information page, and then they can, follow you there and find you there, and you all can connect. So
one thing I'm just really grateful about this show is that you're going to be able, and we're going to be able to learn from one another and gather information and ideas and that might work or help us or anybody, each other in their businesses. And so I think it's just going to be another great tool, like for your toolbox for your business or your company for you to use and to make your business, more successful.
I guess one word to sum up what Jan just said is we're trying to develop a community of like-minded people that want to help one another, so we can all take our business to the next level. And that's very well put, Jan. And that's the focus, the mission of the show is entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs. And we are really the backbone of the whole world economic system. I mean, we provide jobs. We're the risk takers. We go out there and try to improve society, improve our world, come up with new products, new services. And, we want to help one another on. We want to cheer one another on. And so that is the whole idea behind this show. Now, what we'll do here is we shift to the next part of the show is called the kinetic round. Now, this is a fun part of the show because we fire off 8 quick questions for our guest to answer. 7 quick questions for our guest to answer. But today we are the featured guests, so we better think fast. So I'm going to ask the first question. Jan will ask the second one. And we're both, in some of these questions, we're both going to give our own individual answer. So question number 1, tell us about your very first business venture. It could have even happened as a child.
Well, not that I had a business venture in my childhood or teenage years, but I would like to just share with you a little bit about my dad and my mom. They were both business owners, from as early as I can remember. My dad was a farmer and then later went into the commercial tree business. My mother owned her own hair salon. And so I grew up in a family of business owners who, and I was given the opportunity to kind of work alongside of them and watch them and be a part of what they were doing. And my mom and dad were hard workers. They, would develop plans and kind of carry them out, and they were very wise not only with their businesses, but with their finances and with the growth that took part in their companies. And then they just were people who persevered no matter what came their way. They always just kind of stayed together and worked the plan and persevered through it all and came out, with success. And so that would be kind of my, business background.
I could tell you one of the things I admire about Jan's parents are they are very giving people. Now, Jan just lost her mother recently, but her parents are and her dad, very generous type people. And I believe that was one of the reasons they built up such a successful company. They're well respected and admired in their community. They've provided a lot of jobs for many people in their community, and God's really blessed them. And they, if you were to analyze their day-to-day operation, I suppose they break a lot of rules in the business management books. But the way they've pulled it all together, and it just runs efficiently, and they've done really well, and they're people to be proud of. for sure. My first business venture, as I recall, was as a kid. And I started out with the proverbial lemonade stand. And I had some successes and I had some failures, even in that first little venture. And I remember one little failure I had was these two guys came from around the corner and they said, "Hey, we'll buy some lemonade, but we want to try it, and if we like it, we'll pay you for it, and if we don't like it, we won't have to pay you for it. Does that sound fair?" And I said, "Sure." So I poured them 2 big full glasses of lemonade. They drank the entire glass, and at the end they said, "We didn't like it," and they just walked off. And that was my first really big mistake probably in business, and that really kind of hurt. I did make the guarantee. They didn't like it, but I didn't have to pour them that big glass. I should have just poured them a little sample. And so that was my first big mistake in as being an entrepreneur. I wish that was the only mistake I'd ever made as an entrepreneur, but it was one of the first that I can remember. Jan, why don't you fire off question number 2?
Well, which iconic entrepreneur or business leader do you consider yourself to be most like, and why, John?
Well, for me, I am going to go with Steve Jobs. Now, I am not putting myself anywhere in the same class or category as the late Steve Jobs. Just no way. But there was one thing that I really admired about him. It's both a blessing and I guess a curse at the same time. The blessing is he constantly looking for a way to perfect the process, perfect his product. And that's why we have such great Apple products, the Macintosh computer, the iPads, iPhones, what have you. And he was insane about it. I mean, he was OCD about it. That's good, but it also can be bad because I always want to do excellence. I don't want to do good. I want to be excellent. But sometimes where I have to caution myself and where I have to watch it is if let's say I'm building a website and I spend too much time focusing too much time on just the right shade of blue. Now, is it going to make a difference if it's sky blue or navy blue? Maybe not. Or some shade that's really close? Probably not. So those are the kinds of things I have to watch out for. But what I admire about him, or when he was alive, is that he focused on excellence. His products had to be excellent. And that's what I liked about him. And that's how I see myself like him.
For me, it would probably be Lori Grenier on Shark Tank. I enjoy when she's on those shows and just listening to her as she asks questions and as she makes decisions. You can probably tell by now I'm a detailed person. I kind of like to know the information, the facts and the figures, so that to the best of our ability, we can make the best possible decision. And she just comes across that way. I like how she asks questions. I like how she treats people. She's always very kind and respectable to them, but yet she's very honest and truthful too. And so I just like her approach and how she gathers the information, and then how she just makes very wise decisions.
She's been uber successful. I mean, she's got something like 400 patents, I believe, and has been responsible for like over $500 million in sales or something like that. So she's an exceptional person for sure. And I can see how Jan would compare herself to her in that regard, because Jan is certainly that way. Let's go to question number 3. Can you share one of your personal habits, Jan, that you believe contributes to your business success?
Well, I think what I kind of bring to the table is that I can look at the big picture. I can look at the vision. I can look at where we need to start and where we want to end up. And I can take that and I can start breaking that down and organizing it into smaller chunks or smaller pieces, sort of like just breaking it down into steps so that we have a plan, we have an outline, we know where to start, and we know where it's going to take us. And so I'm able to do that with the business ventures that we have, with the ideas. Sometimes when we do this and we have an idea and we do this outline, we break it down, it's not the right way to go. And so then we can move on from there. But I think that's sort of what I bring to the table, that I can do that, and it helps us in making the best possible decisions. How about you, John?
Well, let me comment just a little bit on what you said. As you've picked up, Jan definitely has the administrative gift. I mean, she can administrate circles around me. I'm more of a ready, fire, aim kind of guy. So this is the importance of working to complement one another in a marital and business relationship, because she has really kept me out of some hot water in the past. I'm more of the idea guy, and she's more the implement girl. And so together, when you put those two together, you can get some amazing things done. Now, one of my personal habits, and probably this is one of the top ones I would have to name. I try to do things that obviously are productive, and I try not to waste time. But one of the things I do that I feel like contributes the most is I get up early. I get up between 4 o'clock to 4:30 every single morning. And I have a ritual to get my day started. But I can tell you that with my ritual and the things that I'm able to accomplish, I can get more done between 4 o'clock or 4:30 in the morning till about 8 o'clock when the phone starts ringing or emails start coming in and what have you. I can get more done than most people can. In fact, I get more done during that time period than I can get done the rest of the day. So, and then I feel at ease to quit early in the day too if I need to, because I started way before most people were waking up. So I already get a jump on the day. I get a jump on the competition, and it really works well for me. Jan, why don't you go ahead and fire off question number 4?
Well, question number 4 is, do you have an internet resource like a Google Drive or an Evernote that you use on a consistent basis that greatly contributes to your daily productivity? And for me, because I like to study, I like to research, I like to gather information and numbers and facts, I'm always, the first thing I'm going to is probably Google. I'm going to go and, check out the information that's there and just start putting information together, to help us in our analysis of, is this a great idea? Is it already out there? What do we need? What are we going to have to accomplish this? And so I just probably just kind of hang out on Google and put all this information together.
For me, I like this product called Snagit. I have it on my Mac. I also believe it's available for PC. It's made by the TechSmith company, but when you're having to deal with graphics a lot, or you're wanting to capture a screen, a picture or something, or an image of some kind and send it to somebody, you can text it to somebody, you can email it, you can post it into a Word document. It is phenomenal. I think it's about $49 from a company called TechSmith, and it's invaluable to me. I think they also make Jing and what have you. This will copy a whole web page. It'll copy. You can also do video with this. You can copy, do a video screen capture of what's going on on your screen, on your computer screen. So where that comes in handy sometimes is if I'm having a technical issue with some software or something, I can do a little screencast, a little video, and I can say, when I'm trying to contact the tech department, say, hey, your product is not working right. How do we need to fix this? Then I can run a little video and show what the software is doing, and I can send them that little screencast, and they can see exactly what's going on in my screen. It's just a great tool. I love it. It's called Snagit. I can't imagine life without it. You ought to try it.
So, John, the next question is, if you could recommend just one book for our listeners, what would it be?
I have just really dialed in lately on this book called Play It by Charlie Hone. And this is a young guy that was one of the administrative assistants to Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Work Week. And he had allowed himself to work so hard that he worked himself into a state of anxiety. It was like constant anxiety, and it was affecting his health, his emotional well-being. Anyway, he discovers something almost by accident, but he discovered that he needed to play. And just to give you one little tidbit out of the book that might help you, I would advise that you get the book if you're struggling from anxiety from some of the work the overload that we all experience from time to time. But one of the things he did was one of his friends or one of his business people called him one day wanting an appointment. Let's go to lunch and talk about business, or let's go have coffee. And he just got this idea, the spur of the moment, said, hey, why don't you bring your baseball glove and meet me at the park, and we will play catch and talk about this business idea that you have. And that's what he did. And he said he got so much, it was just a rejuvenation by spending that 30 minutes talking while playing catch, simple game of catch, rather than going to a restaurant or a coffee shop. And I think back to Steve Jobs, many times during his career at Apple, he would take business leaders out on a short walk and they would discuss business ideas. And so the idea of getting your body in motion, getting out there in the sunshine, absorbing some of that vitamin D and talking, planning, it just removes a lot of the stress and anxiety that builds up in your body. It is a great book. It's called Play It or Play It Again by Charlie Hone. It's available on Amazon. We will put the link in our show notes, and you can find it that way. Jan, how about you? What's your what book would you recommend?
Well, one of the books that I've read recently, and this initially is not like a business book, but anyway, as I was reading and studying this book called Beautiful Outlaw, and this is by John Eldredge, and it's a book about the daily life of Jesus and his disciples, and as they went about the 3 years that Jesus, kind of hung out with the disciples and the people that were around him, and John Eldredge just kind of takes you on a day-to-day walk with them. And as I was reading and studying this book, and I looked at how Jesus treated the 12 disciples and the crowds that were around him, I became aware that Jesus was very mindful and aware of who was around him and what was going on. The day-to-day things that were coming his way. He was just kind of on tune with it, and in that book, John just shows how Jesus remained kind of calm, and the answers that he gave and the responses. And so that was just an encouragement to me as a business owner. I mean, Jesus wasn't really a business owner, but he kind of was, a huge leader to people. And as I looked at this book and just watched him interact, be aware, to be mindful of what was going on around him, it just helped me to kind of move that over into our business and to be more mindful of what was going on with our business and the relationship with John, because our relationship's kind of on several different levels. We're business owners together. We're a husband and wife. We're parents, and so it just helped me to also be more aware of the relationship with our employees and our customers, just to be mindful of what's going on around me and not take it for granted either.
I want to pick up on that word that Jan used there, is mindful. And recently I was listening to the Ray Edwards Show. Ray Edwards of the Ray Edwards Show is a podcast on one of my daily bike rides. And he was talking about practicing mindfulness. And I won't get into a long dissertation now. You can look for Ray Edwards on the Ray Edwards Show on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. A brilliant businessman. But to sum it all up in just a couple of sentences, mindfulness is the art of practicing living in the moment. It's not thinking about the past. It's not thinking about the future. It's when you're engaged with somebody, you look them in the eye and you actually really listen to them without forming an opinion or a comeback to what you're going to say when they're finished speaking. That's just one example. Another example might be you're out on your back porch and you're drinking coffee. Think about the moment there. You got a breeze blowing against your face. Your coffee is just the right temperature. You're peaceful. Maybe it's early morning, and you just absorb all those different senses that are coming to you within that moment. That's the art of practicing mindfulness. Jesus was very good at doing that and relating to people right where they were at that very moment. Mm-hmm. So that's important in business. We need to pay attention to our customers. We need to value our employees. We need to value our business partners. And in my case, I'm married to my business partner, so I really need to value her, and she needs to value me. So we need to give each other the respect by looking into each other's eyes and listening to the difference of opinions that we sometimes have and the different ideas. And so without going into a big, long dissertation, that is basically the art of mindfulness in a nutshell, is just living in the moment. And it's very, very important.
And I think one thing to add to that would be, as you become better listeners, to whomever you're with, it gives you a greater understanding of what they're all about and where they're coming from, and maybe why they're doing what they're doing or saying what they're saying or thinking what they're thinking. I think out of listening comes understanding.
Good point. Jan, hit me with question number 6.
Well, John, what encouragement would you like to give to our fellow entrepreneurs and even to those who are considering becoming an entrepreneur?
This I've really focused on recently a lot. I don't know why, but I guess it's because I was struggling with the fear of failure. Now, I guess all of us can relate, because that's one of the things that we fear the most. It's right on up there with we fear death and all kinds of things like that. A lot of things that never happen, but fear of failure. Well, you have to come to the realization of something when you're an entrepreneur or a person that wants to be an entrepreneur. Can I tell you something? You are going to fail. It's inevitable. You're going to fail. So there's no sense in being afraid of it. In fact, you're going to fail often. So the idea here is to fail often, but fail fast. Get in there and start moving, because if you allow the fear of failure to control you and shut you down, you will never, ever get anything done. You will never start. And the way to kill that fear is through action. You have to take the first step. So if you're an administrator like Jan is, sit down and take 10 minutes or take an hour, whatever it is, write out your plan. Make a list, make an outline, and start with step 1 and commit to step 1. Don't worry about the whole outline or the whole plan. Just get moving with step 1, and you'll feel that fear will start to subside. Don't worry that you're not good enough, you don't know enough, people won't respect you enough, or whatever, or your family says there's no way you could do this, or your friends think you're crazy. If you are passionate about it and you know it's right, put yourself together a plan and start working it. You need to do it. Let me tell you, when we started this show, there's all kinds of failure fears that approach us. The resistance that comes. You think, well, can I do this? Can I pull this off? Will we ever gain any listeners? What do I know about podcasting? This is altogether new. And so we've studied and worked hard and researched and put a plan together, and we took some steps. Now, the steps we took helped us to overcome the fear of failure. So that's why we're podcasting today. That's why we're looking for people to interview. That's why we're looking for ways to get this information out to as many people as possible so they can be helped as entrepreneurs too. We know it's tough. You got to take risk. There's many things along the way that work against an entrepreneur, but these things, they can be overcome. You can push through. You can be successful. And we want to help you and help thousands of listeners all over the world with the various messages that come in through our show and broadcast them and put those ideas out there so you feel encouraged, you feel empowered, you feel like, hey, I think I can take the first step and move forward on this passion that I have.
I guess for me, the encouragement that I would want to leave with you is, and you've heard John and I talk a lot about, getting a plan or getting a system or having an outline, but sometime during your day, and I'm sure this has happened to you, something gets thrown at you that you had no idea was coming your way, or it kind of disrupts the routine or the rhythm of the day. And I think what we have to do, and John and I have had to learn this over the years, is that when something unexpected kind of interferes with our plan, our routine, we can't let it derail us and get us off track. We may have to veer off to the left or the right for a little while to handle, what has happened, or if we have to, look at something in depth, but don't let it just throw everything off track. Just try to stay calm and peaceful, and maybe you're going to have to come up with a different plan for the rest of the day, or just for a season while you handle this opportunity or this distraction that's come your way. And so just stay focused and say, well, I got to stop this, but I'm going to deal with this, and then I can come back. So, and that kind of works along with what John was saying with failure, because things are going to come your way that you are they're unexpected and they're not wanted at times, but don't let it derail you. Just deal with it and develop a plan and a system, and then get right back in the game.
So I guess by now you can tell both of us are on your side. We want to be an encouragement to you. We've been through failure and we've been through lots of success, and we know what it's all about, and we want to hear your story too. So, go to entrepreneurnextdoor.net and leave us a comment in one of the posts there. The website is brand new, so we're going to have to, fill it out with content and what have you. But wherever you can find a space on there that feels appropriate, just leave us a comment. Let us know what you think of the show. There'll be a comment section under this podcast and where you can find this particular show, this episode is going to be at entrepreneurnextdoor.net/001. That's entrepreneurnextdoor.net/001. Now, Jan, for listeners who may want to find out more about us and what we do, can you tell them the best way to find us on the internet?
They'll just go to entrepreneurnextdoor.net, and you'll be able to find us, and you'll be able to find the information about us and kind of where we're headed and with this. And like John said, we would like your comments, and you'll be able to find this podcast on there. So go and find us. Look us up.
Now, going from here, what you can expect is we're going to have, to start with anyway, we are going to have 3 shows per week. Most likely they will come out on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and each episode will feature a different guest. Now, this show went a little long today. It'll probably end up being around an hour long. Most of the shows that we will produce will end up being somewhere between 28 to 32 minutes, somewhere in that time frame. Why? Because we want to get the information is to be concise, get it to you quickly, because we know that the moments of time that you have to listen are generally speaking in about the 30-minute category. You work out for 30 minutes, or you get in your car and you drive from point A to point B in 30 minutes. There's a lot of things that we do in a 30-minute time capsule. So what we want to do is produce shows that you can consume the entire show within that 30-minute time frame. So that is basically what we've got. We want you to subscribe, go to iTunes, and I'll tell you this right now. If you'll go to iTunes and leave a comment, what you thought about the show, we will read your name on the show, on the next show that we do. And or one of the shows that we do. I can't always say the next one because sometimes when we record these shows, they may not go in the same order that we thought. But if you'll leave a comment on our iTunes page there, we will mention you on the show and give you a big hearty thank you and encourage people that way. So that looks like a wrap for today. We hope you enjoyed our first show. We want to ask you to partner with us in the big idea that was presented today. And how?
Well, we are asking you to become a subscriber to the show and listen to the stories of other business leaders so you can grow and be encouraged.
We are also asking you to comment on our blog at entrepreneurnextdoor.net/001, making your contribution to other entrepreneurs around the world.
And we're asking you to go to our iTunes account and post a note about your thoughts on the show. This helps our podcast rise to the top in the iTunes ranking system so other entrepreneurs can find us and be encouraged.
We are asking you to apply to be on the show. Other entrepreneurs can benefit from your journey as a business professional. Go to entrepreneurnextdoor.net/apply. Now, some restrictions apply. I can tell you, we would like to speak to people that have been entrepreneurs for at least 2 years and have gross income of at least 6 figures. So those are the basic criteria, and we have an application process. Once you're approved, we will send you all the information about scheduling and how to get on the show and the questions we'll ask and how to prepare and all that sort of thing. So with all that being said, stand tall, business pro. We salute you. You are the backbone of the entire world economic system. Be hungry. Stay crazy. Remember that the road to success is paved with the cobblestones of failure. So fail often and fail fast. Keep picking yourself back up and keep moving. Much continued success, friends.
Thank you so much for joining us today on Entrepreneur Next Door.
Go to entrepreneurnextdoor.net for full recaps of every show, our amazing blog articles, and resources to help your business grow. Stand tall, business pro.
We salute you.